because if you truly want to become wealthy from crypto, it's not about how much crypto you really have. It's about when you sell and when you take profits, because a lot of people round trip their bags through the entire bull market and they hold all the way to the bear market bottom, being forced to sell their positions to pay things like their rent, their car payments, their phone bill. And I know this because that was me back in 2018. I literally had to sell all of my crypto all the way down here to pay my rent because I round tripped my bags through that entire bull run, because I was buying Bitcoin and altcoins all through this phase right here of the bull run in 2016 and 2017, when Bitcoin was breaking out from 500 to 1,000 to 2,000 to $3,000. I was accumulating all the way up, and then I was rotating into altcoins like XRP, like Chainlink, like IOTA, like Cardano, those OG projects that have been around for multiple bull runs. But the problem was, the higher that my portfolio got, the more greedy I became. And at the peak, my portfolio was sitting around roughly $150-ish thousand, and I started with like $10,000 to $20,000. So I thought surely that $150,000 was going to be worth $1 million if I just kept holding, because that's what everyone online was telling me, to diamond hands my entire position and just hodl for dear life. But that was quite possibly the stupidest thing that I could have ever done, because if I would have learned how to analyze charts and how to read the markets, I could have saved myself the pain and the frustration of having to rebuild my portfolio during this entire period right here before the 2021 cycle. Now, I learned my lesson because of what I'm going to share with you in this video, because in 2020, I was accumulating as much crypto as I possibly could right here, and even on the way up as well too, but I did not round trip my bags. In fact, I took profits when Bitcoin was around $57,000, right around here, virtually at the top. Now, you're not going to sell the top 100% of the time. In fact, you don't need to sell the top to make money in crypto. As long as you can get relatively close, based on what I'm going to share with you over the next few minutes, then you could separate yourself from the 90+% who fail. And then when you learn how to trade the markets, you can actually short it while we're in a bear market, making money on the way down. And so I re-entered back into the crypto market when Bitcoin was around $16,500, right around here, and have just been holding ever since. And now Bitcoin's over $105,000. So what's going to happen next, and how will this affect your favorite altcoins? Because since the bear market bottom, we're over 900 days into this bull run, and everyone wants to know, how much time do we have left? Are you too late if you're brand new? And when should you sell and run for the hills and buy some real estate and put your money into physical real world assets? Or should you listen to people that are saying to diamond hands your portfolio and hold forever because we're just going to keep going up forever? Is that a smart strategy? Well, this year I will be selling most, if not all, of my altcoins. And I'm just speaking from experience here. So this is not financial advice. This is just purely my opinion. Go consult your financial advisor, because crypto is risky. You can definitely lose money in these markets. And these videos are purely for educational, informational purposes only. So from my experience, because I did not take profits in 2017's bull run and get out of the market in time, I went right back to where I started. And even worse, I lost everything. I went $15,000 in debt. And I'm not here to give you some sob story to make you feel bad for me, because I know you don't care. And that made me dive even further into the markets and research as much as I possibly could so I didn't get wrecked again. And I want to share that information with you to prevent you from getting wrecked. And so if you like value like this, give this video a like, because there's several indicators that we can watch to give us an idea on both a macro and a micro time frame on when the best time to buy and when the best time to sell is. For example, a while back I shared this chart with you guys, which is the miner capitulation chart, because in Bitcoin, profitability for miners is a function of the Bitcoin price and the cost for the miners to buy electricity to mine Bitcoin. So when the price drops, less efficient miners are forced off the network because the Bitcoin they earn are not worth the cost to mine. So many miners keep some or all of the Bitcoin they mine in order to sell them in a bull market and get maximum value for them. And the thinking in terms of miner capitulation scenario is that as the price drops and some miners are forced off the network, they will sell these reserve Bitcoins, causing the price to drop further. And this chart color codes the block since difficulty bottom based on Bitcoin's price chart for the miners. So when we look at where we're at right now compared to where we've been in the past, we're actually getting pretty close to a market cycle peak. And I shared this with you guys when I said, when we transition from red to dark blue back here in July of 2022, then we most likely see the market cycle bottom come after that. And sure enough, if I zoom in here for you guys, you can see right here around November 21st of 2022, the minor capitulation chart was at a bottom here when we were at dark blue in terms of block since difficulty bottom. And if you want to talk about accurate, that was right here when Bitcoin was at $15,471 at the exact bear market bottom.
Looking at minor capitulation right now, I talked about this in previous videos. We are at 210,000 blocks since difficulty bottom. When this flips and we go back to, minimal, 0 to 1,000 blocks since difficulty bottom, and then the next bull run will really be taking place. So right now we're in danger territory for minor capitulation. And once we see, the minor capitulation data flip, then we could start getting more of a bullish sentiment. Look at a Bitcoin's rainbow price chart, basically a fire sale. We're even lower than a fire sale. I mean, the fire sale price, when we look at the pricing for where it's supposed to be right now, fire sale is between 20,471 and 27,276. So us sitting right now for Bitcoin at $16,700, people could argue that this is the best possible opportunity for Bitcoin bulls.
So this is actually one of the most accurate charts that virtually nobody talks about. And while nobody knows the exact price that Bitcoin and the rest of the altcoin market is going to go to in terms of market cap this bull run cycle, we don't need to know, because what I'm going to share with you guys over the next few minutes, because we can exit the markets relatively close to the top, not based on price, but based on key on-chain metrics. For example, look right here at the previous bull run. When we transitioned from yellow to dark orange, when we saw the double top for Bitcoin and we peaked out right here at about 1,600% at dark orange here before the bear market kicked in. And if we look at the cycle before then, from yellow to dark orange, we peaked out at about 8,300% at dark orange. In the cycle before then, we peaked out at about 33,000%. And dark orange was really just a dead cat complacency bounce before the bear market kicked in, about 19,000%. So through the law of diminishing returns, this cycle peak in terms of percentage is not going to be as high as previous cycles, because it just takes more liquidity to move the markets than it did in previous cycles, because Bitcoin is just larger right now and there's more altcoins out there, which creates saturation. Because in 2017, there was only like a few hundred to maybe 1,000 or two cryptocurrencies. And now you guys can see just on CoinMarketCap alone, there's 15.7 million. That's not including the ones that are on Dex Screener, on Pump Fund. There's hundreds of new cryptos being launched every single hour of the day on different exchanges, and CoinMarketCap only features just a fraction of them. So 15 million cryptos, that's way too many. But if you learn which ones are going to be around long term, then you can position yourself in those projects and make a lot of money on the macro. Right now you can see we transitioned from yellow to orange on the minor capitulation chart right here. And I do think Bitcoin is going to go higher and the altcoins are going to break out, but this is where a lot of people are going to get trapped in, because they think that Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million this cycle because they heard it on some interview on the news from someone whose company is primarily derived in the value of Bitcoin. So they have an ulterior motive to get you to hold forever so they can use you as exit liquidity. But because you're subscribed to the Bull Runners channel, you're not going to be fooled, and you're going to know exactly why studying these charts is so powerful for your portfolio and your future. In stock to flow model right here, we can see that we've transitioned from red to dark orange, and we're about to transition to yellow in terms of the days until the next halving. And in the previous cycle, when we transitioned from orange to yellow, that's when we saw Bitcoin peak out at nearly $70,000. And then from yellow to light green, the bear market was coming in. And the cycle before then, it was the same thing. From red to orange, from orange to yellow, and from yellow to light green, we saw the bear market kick in after light green. And while no model is 100% accurate, because as you guys can see, each bull market peak looks a little bit different than the previous one, just based on this model alone, it shows that Bitcoin has a little juice left in it before the top of this bull run cycle. And if you look at this indicator right here, the NUPL, or the NUPL indicator, which shows euphoria and greed in red, and then in yellow, belief and denial, optimism, anxiety, and like a dark brown, hope and fear in gray, and then capitulation in green. Well, this indicator is pure gold. If you know how to read it, you can know exactly when to buy or sell. It's very simple. Every market has two key moments, and that's capitulation, which is virtually the bottom or close to the bottom, and euphoria, which is the top. So here's what to look for. When we're in capitulation, which is green, it's near the market cycle bottom. In smart money, whales are accumulating while everyone else panics, sells for a loss, goes back to work at McDonald's, gets a job, and exits the crypto market, and is so traumatized and has PTSD because they round-tripped their portfolio all the way to the bottom and they got liquidated in the capitulation stage. Now, when we hit euphoria, which is red, it's the absolute top. So greed peaks, it's time to take profits, get out of the market. So the real question is, where are we right now? Well, as you can see right here, we're roughly at about 56%, which is in the belief or the denial stage, and we haven't yet tapped into euphoria or greed for this bull run cycle. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't seen greed on the crypto fear and greed index. That's another indicator, but this indicator simply means we're still on an upward trajectory. So there's still a lot of money to be made. But when we see the red levels hit, that means I will be selling the majority of my crypto. So you have to pay extremely close attention to our videos over the next 6 months, because those who follow us will stay ahead of the curve, and those who don't will probably get wrecked unless they get lucky. So when we look at Bitcoin's realized price chart right here, paired up with the days until the next halving, this chart shows 3 major things. And that's number 1, Bitcoin's price. This is the rainbow colored plot on the chart. It shows the Bitcoin price on any given day, color coded for how many days until the halving. And for those of you that are wondering why we're talking about Bitcoin and not the altcoins, we need to watch Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin does well, then altcoins are going to do even better. If Bitcoin doesn't do well, then altcoins are going to do even worse. So number 2, it shows the Bitcoin realized price. This is the yellow line that you can see on the chart. This shows the realized price of Bitcoin. This is the average price that each coin last moved on the Bitcoin network. And then number 3 is the realized price oscillator. This is the gray dot plot line at the bottom of the chart. This shows the ratio of the Bitcoin price against the realized price. So the red bar indicates the level of 1, meaning the Bitcoin price was equal to the realized price. And the reason why this chart is useful is because the realized price uses the price that a Bitcoin was last moved at as its main data point. And if the realized price oscillator gets too high, it could mean Bitcoin's price is rising faster than the coins are actually being used and moved on the network. So realized price has also been served as price support. A lower realized price could mean that long-term holders who bought at lower prices have not moved their coins yet. And when they send their coins to an exchange to sell, the realized price will move up and help create a higher floor. So as you can see right now, the realized price is roughly $45,750 and the actual price is about $104,000. And when we pair this up to the days until the next halving and we just zoom in here for this market cycle, we can see we've transitioned from orange and now we're transitioning to yellow. Now let's look at the previous cycle and let's see what the chart looked like. When we transitioned from orange and we went to yellow, that's when Bitcoin was breaking out to the all-time high. It was when we went from yellow to light green, then the bear market kicked in for Bitcoin to drop back down closer to the realized price. And then as you can see during the bear market, during light green, Bitcoin's price dropped below the realized price and then found a bottom near $15,000 to $16,000. How about the cycle before then? Well, you can see when we transitioned from orange to yellow, we exploded upwards of nearly $20,000 when the realized price was around $4,500. Then if we zoom in during the bear market, when we transitioned from yellow to light green, we saw Bitcoin's price drop below the realized price and then found a bottom. And if we even zoom into the cycle before then, we can see during the bull run, when we transitioned from orange to yellow, we exploded to the all-time high. And then from yellow to light green, we went into a bear market and Bitcoin's actual price dropped below the realized price to find a bear market bottom. So I don't think this cycle is going to be any different. And the reason why I say that is because you need to watch what's going to happen on social media and what everyone's going to be telling you the closer and closer we get to the top. They're going to tell you this time it's different. We're in a super cycle. We have regulation. You just need to keep holding. When you start to hear all of these things and then you come and you watch these videos and you see exactly not what I'm telling you, don't listen to me. Don't listen to my opinions. Listen to the facts that I'm sharing with you on the charts, because I form my opinions based on patterns that I see. And when I see the majority of these patterns saying the same things based on key indicators and key on-chain metrics, then that just tells me what to do, because I don't operate off of fear or greed. I operate off of data and logic here. And so right now we are above the realized price, as we should be, because we're in a bull market. We've just transitioned from orange. We're not quite at yellow in terms of the days until the next halving yet. So that's why I still think there's time in the bull run for Bitcoin to break out and form a blow off top. But when that blow off top happens, just get ready, because when we transition to light green, I would expect Bitcoin's price to come back down and drop below the realized price, which currently it's about $45,000. Over the next 6 months, this realized price is going to continue to climb up, probably near $50,000 or $60,000. So Bitcoin's bottom will probably be roughly around $40,000 to $50,000 for the next bear market low, or it may hold on top of the previous market cycle high of $60,000 to $70,000. So I would expect anywhere from $40,000 to $70,000 for the next bear market low. And while a lot